I know what you guys are thinking. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Just a couple of guys. We're back. We're back, baby. We're getting Doug back. We are the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. He is your host. He's a stallion. I am the enforcer, and we have taken a sabbatical. If you was, is sabbatical the word that we could use for the 8-month layoff?
Probably more like hibernation. But I guess sabbatical is also one way to put it.
You know what? For our dated listeners, we just it was softball season. We were playing softball with Sid, right?
Like,
and we
yeah,
took 8 months off. Yep. If you notice, the stallion is in a new room. Guy bought a new house. He's living large, moving on up. You know, lives in a effing mansion. I don't even remember if we can curse on the show. I'm going to try to keep it PG. But a lot of things have changed. We're back, as you can see. A couple of guys that are back. I want to know what that painting is behind you, stallion. I want to know what that is over the shoulder. Is that a Monet?
It's a Yankees collage, I believe, of like a couple different things.
Oh, looks like a Monet. I'm gonna go with Monet.
I mean, I can't confirm or deny who painted it. So it could be a Monet, could be a Van Gogh.
Steve Monet, that's who I think it was. So
it could be an original Jeff Hardy painting for him. I don't know.
Those are tough to come by. So here's the deal. We're back. We are exclusively on WrestlingHeadlines.com. We love WrestlingHeadlines.com. They've always been great to us. And now, if you've ever read a review, a recap for Ring of Honor or AEW on WrestlingHeadlines.com in the last 3 months, and Ring of Honor going back to the last year, you read our stuff. That's kind of our thing now. We oversee everything AEW and Ring of Honor on WrestlingHeadlines.com. The shows, live reviews, rate, comment, subscribe, whatever the kids say, all that stuff. That's what we do. And also, we have made it, Joe. We have peaked, and I don't have the spit guards. I have to watch my P's on here, my T's. We have peaked, and we are on the decline because we have a store on ProWrestlingTees.com, Joe. Pro Wrestling, how many years? Coming up on 7 years of the podcast. Carry the one, and we have a t-shirt store, ProWrestlingTees.com/all night long WP. How long has it been, man? How long have we been trying to do that?
Long time. How much are the shirts? Are they $20 a piece?
5,000 yen.
5,000 yen.
5,000 yen. $19.99 a piece on ProWrestlingTees.com. And you know what the best part about that is? Not that you and I will finally see at least a penny in the green, not the red, which we've been doing for 7 years, is that a portion of all the proceeds go to animal rescue. We don't need money. We're used to living in squalor in our life. What we want to do is we want to help the animals. So the stallion is a big fan of animal rescue. I'm a big animal rescue guy. Every month, what we're going to do is we're going to take some portion of the proceeds. We're going to donate it to a local animal shelter, sponsor a dog. Check out our social media at All Night Long WP. Everywhere you Instagram, everywhere you Twitter, we'll post. Speak of the devil. It's like Dukester heard about it, and he was so happy that's what we're doing. We're going to be sponsoring dogs, and we're going to post like adoptable dogs and things like that each and every single month. So we are stoked to be able to finally have a store on there. We're going to have some designs. If you're a fan of Miami Vice, and why wouldn't you be? Because you're listening to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We have a brilliant Miami Vice design that you effing did. This guy's the guy behind the guy. He never went to art school. Bam, gets on a computer. Miami Vice. Joe, how'd you do it, buddy? How'd you do it?
Art school. It's a little app called I think Photoshop. I'm pretty sure. Took a little time to do that. And I think Duke's just letting people know about the specials on the shirts. So it's $20 for one shirt, 2 for $40.
Yep.
And $1 million will only cost you $20 million. So yeah, I think he's just letting everybody know. And again, folks out there, I think you said 2 designs up there right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe more come in the future. All good things behind it, you know, in terms of the proceeds and where that stuff will go. So
yeah, it's a special promo we're running called Buy More, Spend More. Mm-hmm. The more you buy, the more you spend.
2 for the price of 2.
That's it, baby. So you're probably saying, you guys, you both look uglier than the last time you saw us. And that's, I mean, dead on balls accurate. A couple of guys getting older, right? That's what we do. We just get older. But The format of the show, I wonder what what Duke's telling me what the format's going to be.
Did we have a format before? I didn't know that we did.
No, we were all over the place. We were a chicken with their head cut off. A chicken with the head cut off. So we're going to be focusing on interviews. Hopefully we can get a lot of people on here. We would love to be doing that going forward. It's not going to be a set time every single week. We're a couple of busy guys, right? It might not even be every week, but we're back. It's not going to be every Monday from 6:15 to 6:45, but we'll be back. We'll be consistently putting out new material. And again, make sure you follow everywhere on social media at All Night Long WP, and go to Wrestling Headlines, man. It's one of the very few wrestling websites where it's not just dirt that some guy who heard something from a guy in the gym post something. He's like, oh man, I think I saw somebody today. So there was something today that it was the headline was Keith Lee still not in ring shape ? And that was like the headline, right? So it clickbaited the shit out of me. So I read it, and it's a quote from Bully Ray on Sirius Satellite on Busted Open saying he doesn't think Keith Lee is in ring shape.
Stunning.
That's like,
how about this? How about this for a hot take? I don't think Bully Ray is in ring shape either. How about that?
Oh, the Stallion's coming out fire and shooting with the Stallion is back, baby. But no, Wrestling Headlines, they do a great job over there, and they're not going to post just, garbage, fake news and stuff like that. It's not clickbait headlines. It's just up to the minute current professional wrestling news that you care about, and a lot of cool reviews and all that kind of stuff. So support them. Wrestling Headlines. Go to youtube.com/ I think it's /Wrestling Headlines, or just search Wrestling Headlines on YouTube. Give them a follow, and follow us everywhere at All Night Long WP. But that being said, holy potatoes, I am parched. I haven't talked this long in quite a long time. But so this week, what's the hot topic? AEW is the hot topic this week. So this week, what we're doing is it's going to be the week in Elite. Last week, AEW had like 47 shows if you count Dark Elevation, Dark Excavation, all these shows. But we're going to focus on the main three shows, which was your AEW Dynamite, your AEW Rampage, and then your AEW Battle of the Belts 2, which I equate to Clash of Champions. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea, or what they're trying to liken it to from back in the NWA, WCW days, is these occasional Saturday night specials with some wrestling. These are only an hour. So they had 1 hour on Saturday night, I think at 8 o'clock Eastern, with three title matches on the show.
Yeah, and thankfully it's only an hour, because it's, I being the guy that does the play-by-play, and you, Joe, as somebody who did New Japan, like those scramble matches and those 6-man tags, my fingers hurt, Joe, at the end of that. Like you got every time Jeff Hardy and Darby are in a match, I'm like, I need a coffee. But let's, without further ado, let's kind of get into Rampage last week. I know we could work our way back. Rampage ended on, Dynamite. Dynamite ended on somewhat of a sour note. A lot of people were a little salty at Satnam Singh. And what I do like about the Satnam Singh pairing with Samoa Joe. So if you didn't watch a show, main event of Dynamite last week was the new Ring of Honor television champion, Minoru Suzuki, transitional champion, clearly, defending his title against Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe gets the title, wins the title, great match. Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt there, lights go out. AEW, I love you. You gotta effing stop with the lights going out. I've had enough lights go out. I don't need any more lights go out unless Sandman is going to show up. That's all. That's it. Like, so lights go out and lights come on, and everybody's looking in the ring, and there's this just monster there, and nobody knows who the hell he is. So I thought it was a pretty rough way to debut him. It makes sense. You want to put him with Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal. I support that. But, Tony Khan even said it himself. Which I do respect this about Tony Khan. Everybody wants to call him Money Mark and all these other terms, but like, he was like, yeah, I could have done that better. And I think, could have done that better is an understatement, Joe.
Yeah, the lights out, lights on thing. I think, fans are conditioned to expect a big surprise or a big debut or something along those lines when that happens. And unfortunately for Singh, not a lot of people knew who he was, right? I didn't know who he was until Tony Schiavone told me who he was during the debut. And the whole, so the main event was, I think, a lot of people were really hyped for that. And his debut kind of ended the show on a flat note, right? Fans were pretty quiet. Again, a lot of people didn't know who he was. I think he had a better appearance / showing on Saturday night during Battle of the Belts 2, I believe, when he came out and attacked after the ROH title match took place. So they probably could have done something a little bit different, like Tony Khan mentioned, in terms of debuting him as a heater or whatever you want to call him, without doing the lights off, lights on gimmick.
Yeah, and he immediately drew comparisons to the Great Khali and Almost, right? Like, just by nature, he's a 7'4", I think they said he was, like a 7'2", whatever.
He used to be a basketball player, is my understanding, right?
So he's the only Indian-born player to be drafted in the NFL, which is just amazing in and of itself when you think about it. But like, doesn't mean you're going to be a great wrestler. But based upon the numbers we just saw of what Veer, Veer's his name, right? Veer, the guy what Veer did for Raw ratings, I understand why you're doing it. I know it was a big push from Warner, but Hunter is Hunter doesn't like the expansion himself. He's whining upstairs. But
is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, that's what that. It sounds like a tea kettle, and it's not a tea kettle. It's just Hunter. Just when you have 4 dogs, this shit just happens. But I think there was a bunch of better ways to do it. But more importantly, we have Samoa Joe in Ring of Honor, which he debuted Supercard of Honor the week before. I understand, the Minoru Suzuki losing the title is a transitional champion thing, because what's going to draw more money on Friday night? Red Titus, no offense, I'm a big Red Titus guy. Red Titus versus Samoa Joe, or Samoa Joe versus Minoru Suzuki. Put it on Suzuki. Worst case scenario, he loses to Samoa Joe in a good match, which is what happened. But I think, unfortunately, what happened at the end of that show overshadowed a lot of the rest of the card, and everybody was like, "Oh, you ended the show on a flat note." I'm like, yeah, but you had like fantastic wrestling up until that match. The main event was good. I'm really getting more invested in Shane Swerve Strickland. Swerve. Yeah, okay. So many names, bro. I'm still learning names.
Swerve. I just go Swerve because he's been Swerve everywhere. Just his name's, the first name and the last name has changed, but I just go Swerve. I'm
going Swerve only. Swerve and Keith Lee as a team. Didn't expect to love them as a team as much as I did. And Ricky Starks is just so good. It was Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs versus Swerve and Keith Lee. That was a really strong match. Marina Shafir debuted against, Sky Blue. It was fine. Still better than Ronda, right? That's how I feel. But these guys should not be overshadowed because of such a flat main event. I think it's a little bit tough, but yeah. Back to the tag team match though. I'm a big Team Taz guy, a big Ricky Starks guy. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah, I do like Starks in general, and I like Hobbs as well. I think the unique thing about that match was, I believe the show was in New Orleans, and he is from New Orleans, so he got a good reaction, a babyface type reaction on the show. And I thought it was good that they ended up letting him get the win, right? I think that's something that people always criticize WWE over in years past, right? Because they would have the hometown person lose or get embarrassed or whatever it is.
Jim Ross, right?
Yeah, when they're in their hometown or home arena or whatever the case may be. But AEW seems to make a little bit more of a bigger deal of when people come to their hometown, right? When Britt Baker goes to Pittsburgh, when Jon Moxley goes to Cincinnati. So things like that. Even when MJF was in Long Island, right? He got cheered. They explained it. They don't really try to fight the fan reaction. So I thought that was good. Keith Lee took the pin there. I mean, I guess, guys can't stay undefeated forever. And that feud has kind of been simmering for a while. We'll see where it goes from here. But
they took the pin after a finish, though. He took the pin after Hobbs hit the spine buster finish. I'm a big fan of guys getting a win with their finish. It might be old school in me, but I think that was important.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I thought that was a good match. And but like you said, I think the show itself I enjoyed from, almost all the way to the end. It's just that it's like the pay-per-view that they had with the Exploding Ring, where like there was good matches on the show, and even Moxley and Omega had a good match. But when the ring explosion was a dud, people leave remembering that. And I think that's what happened with Dynamite this past Wednesday, where the show I thought was really good for the most part, with the exception of, again, I didn't particularly care for the Marina Shafir match and how that was all presented, even though I understand why they did it. But the ending of the show fell flat. They had Jay Lethal's big surprise was a middle finger in a box, which I kind of chuckled at, and then they brought out Santam Singh, and that didn't really get over immediately. But over time, I'm sure it'll get better.
Yeah, like you said, he already had a better showing at Battle of the Belts. Just a couple of other news and notes from the Dynamite show. I think we live in a crazy world, like, where there's so much talent, and the day of Dynamite, they're like, oh, by the way, CM Punk's gonna wrestle Penta. It's like, what? Like, that wasn't promoted. Like, I know Punk said he wanted a match, and Penta accepts it. Like, that's a big, high level, like, quote unquote dream match that a year ago, if somebody told you, oh, Penta versus Punk's gonna be an event or something, like, wait, what? So I think this is going to be a time in wrestling where we look back and we're like, oh man, we're kind of spoiled. When Punk is opening a show, Samoa Joe and Suzuki are closing a show. You've got Eddie Kingston, you've got like Red Dragon, like all these people in the show. You look top to bottom. It's like, and I know a lot of people are criticizing AEW for being like, oh, the homegrown talent or whatnot. Like, some of that homegrown talent, like the Joey Janela's, the Marco Stunts, like, their airtime is now being taken up by guys like CM Punk, by guys like Bryan Danielson, by guys like Moxley, by Samoa Joe. Like, there's just not enough airtime. So it's hard at the top, but I understand why you're doing it. I mean, we also had Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon. Joe, I really thought Red Dragon was going to pull that one out.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance. I read a few recaps of the show, and people seem to think that the title switch may have been happening there. I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, they definitely had me buying in at various points during the match in terms of thinking Red Dragon could win. The thing I think that got me was knowing that Adam Cole had the title match against Hangman Page on Friday. I didn't think Cole was going to win. So for whatever reason, that led me to think that Red Dragon wouldn't win either. So I don't know. We'll see where they go with these guys. I know they seem to be setting up Red Dragon and FTR for a match, which should be really good. Kyle O'Reilly is in the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. So that will be interesting as well. And I don't know where Jurassic Express goes from here. You have to think that eventually FTR is gonna face them and take the titles back. It seems like that's where things are heading, but they've swerved me before, so we'll see.
Yeah, and that, like you mentioned, I like the stare down at the end of the match. FTR came out and they kind of got face to face with Red Dragon, and then they looked at Jurassic Express, the total title unification. I'm like, pump the brakes on the title unification. That's another thing with Ring of Honor. Like, there's still a lot to hash out. I know Tony Khan, big announcement this week, baby. Christian Cage re-signing his AEW contract. I'm looking forward to that. He's signing for another 2 years. That's going to be
very
the big
excited.
Announcement. Tony Khan, love you, man, but can we not with the big announcement? Like, between the big announcement, Hunter whining, and the lights going out, all of that needs to stop for a good amount of time. I feel like,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a really tough sledding. So I guess we'll see what happens with what happens with Ring of Honor, and if we're gonna get a separate show, if we're gonna get a TV show, I don't know. But I'm just a guy watching TV, Joe. That being said, I did enjoy Dynamite this week. And I think they have it was a start of a long week for them, because right after Dynamite, then we had 2 days later, we're Rampage. I love Rampage. I love Rampage. I feel like they cram too much into 1 hour. I think you need to let something breathe. You had 4 matches on Rampage this week. The times of those matches were 1 minute, 9 minutes, 9 minutes, and 21 minutes. So you're looking at 40, 41, 42 minutes of wrestling in a 60-minute show, which would be fine, but you also have backstage segments too. So there was so much going on. But Rampage, Adam Cole, Hangman Page, Texas Death Match. What did you think?
I mean, I thought it was a good match. I think this isn't anything against Hangman in general at all. I think he's been in a lot of matches like this lately. He had a Texas Death Match, I think, right, against Lance Archer. I think he had another.
From Texas? I thought he was from Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he's like a cowboy or something. So.
Anxious millennial cowboy. Duke does not like him.
No, he does. Well, but yeah, I think the thing is with those types of matches, they're usually good, and those guys did some different stuff. I know, to try to make things a little bit more interesting, or spots that maybe you haven't seen before. But it's hard to do that when most of those matches just have things like kendo sticks or tables or whatever. Now barbed wire is kind of a thing. Tax happens a lot. So I think it's good for any promotion to space those things out as much as you can. That way you get a little bit more out of it. I guess the thing with Cole is, he's a big enough star to be in that spot. I think it's unfortunate that they had him basically, lose to Hangman twice. I'm sure eventually he'll get the title there. But the match was good. But the outcome wasn't really in doubt for me. So I guess that's kind of what, not that it wasn't a great match, but it just kind of was like, it's good. It was there. It was what I expected, and not much more than that.
See, to me, I thought actually Cole could win this because it wouldn't require Hangman taking a pin, which kind of could have saved him a little bit on that end. But they decided not to. I don't know. I don't think Red Dragon and Adam Cole should be losing as frequently as they are. I think they're a very strong faction, but there seem to be longer term plans. I think it's time for Adam Page to work past Adam Cole. And I think it's time for, a different challenger in the heavyweight title picture, which I think we're going to get this week. Also on the show, Ruby Soho defeated Robin Renegade. Good for Ruby Soho. I'm glad we need Ruby Soho she's my pick to win, by the way. The Owen Hart Memorial Tournament Cup. I'm sure there's some terminology. Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. There you go. Ruby Soho is my pick to win. I think everybody feels like AEW forgot about Ruby Soho, and I don't think that's the case. But I liked her winning. I didn't love the Killer Bees swerve there. I don't know. Robin Renegade had a twin. That was surprising to me, but that was what it was. It was. She got 8 minutes or so. But it's Ruby Soho was the star of that match, and then the Butcher defeated Barrett Brown, who I didn't even know who his name was. I did not know it was Barrett Brown because not once did they mention his name. And the Butcher. Butcher's wrestling Wardlow this week. Makes sense. Give him a strong showing on TV. Make him look strong going into that match. But to me, the highlight of everything AEW recently, and tell me how you feel, has been the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how they've kind of gone with that whole thing. When they first started the angle, I didn't really know if Moxley and Danielson would be getting along or how that was going to wind up. But then they had their pay-per-view match, and William Regal made a surprise appearance and debut in AEW, which I definitely wasn't expecting. And that kind of took things off from there with the angle and him basically being their manager and kind of starting to do what Bryan Danielson had talked about leading up to the angle and the match, rather, which was, getting a bunch of guys together that they could kind of help and cultivate young talent and, bring them along and all that type of stuff. And he mentioned a bunch of guys' names, and Wheeler Yuta seems to be the first guy who's made that leap, right? Leaving his alliance with the Best Friends and now joining the Blackpool Combat Club. And he's really gotten a lot of attention and shine and focus put on him the last several weeks. And he's really delivered in his matches, even though some of them have been in a losing effort. And he's also the ROH Pure Champion. I guess that's almost kind of like a side note at this point, but yeah, I mean, those guys are all great talkers, and Yuta's kind of on the up and coming side of things. So everything that they've really done individually or as a team the last month or two has been really good.
It's been my favorite part. It was all one word. It's been my favorite part of Dynamite or any AEW show every week. I'm also a huge fan of Moxley and Danielson as a tag team, which I didn't expect to be. They're great. There's so much for them to do. Like, just thinking about it right now, I think it's time to get all the Ring of Honor titles off of AEW TV, hopefully, and then Ring of Honor can have their separate show. And then I think it's time you introduce trios titles, because now you have the Blackpool Combat Club. You've got the Undisputed Elite. I think that's their name. I mean, you've got the Dark Order. You've got the Death Triangle. You've got the House of Black. You have some fantastic trios that could make some really interesting matchups. And I think that'll be like a good Rampage title, right? Like, you keep it on Rampage. But I just don't want to see any more Ring of, like you mentioned, I didn't even know they were going to keep the pure title. Not kind of going all over the place here, but I thought they were disbanding the pure title, and then Tony Khan buys Ring of Honor. It's like, oh, by the way, it's for the pure championship. So it looks like that's going to still be a thing.
Yeah, I guess there were some plans in place before Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor. And I think part of those plans were eliminating some of the titles. And I don't know exactly how they were going to run shows and stuff. There was supposed to be a new logo and like all these things that came out.
I forgot about
and,
that. A rebranding, a replatforming.
Yeah, something along those lines. And when Tony Khan bought it, I guess some or all of that has changed. So yes, there's still all of those titles are still there. I definitely agree that a pet peeve of mine is too many championships on television. It reminds me of the Invasion angle where there were all of the WWE championships and all of the WCW championships on television that were seemingly changing hands on a weekly basis. Super difficult to keep track of, and kind of dilutes what a championship is when you have like a dozen of them on television. So yes,
everybody gets a title, right?
Yeah, I think getting the ROH titles off of AEW programming, even though I understand the benefit of having ROH matches and talent on the TV shows so that you can maybe bring them across to wherever ROH is going to be, just get that stuff kind of settled out, because the more titles you have, again, like you said, it's harder to keep track. And now we've got 2 women's titles, we've got 2 men's titles, we have the tag titles. If we add a 6-man title in there, it's like that's enough on top of having a bunch of ROH titles as well.
Agreed. And at least a 6-man title, it's the only 6-man title. Like, so you can have 6-man matches. I think that varies it up a little bit. But wrap up real quick. AEW Battle of the Belts. On paper, I was really looking forward to it. In actuality, I gotta say, Joe, I was disappointed with this show. I don't know if it was just me. Thunder Rosa, Nyla Rose, 15 minutes seems like way too long, because I was only interested in like the last 5 or 6 minutes. That seems like there was a lot of miscommunication in that match, and I'm not used to seeing that from really either women. I mean, Nyla Rose has been in some really strong matches, and Thunder Rosa is kind of the face of the women's division right now. So the outcome of this match was never in doubt for me, but I think it took way too long to get there.
Yeah, it went a little longer than I expected. And as you mentioned, there were the last maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes or something along those lines, where there were a couple of spots that didn't look very smooth. Again, I don't know, that stuff happens for a bunch of different reasons. Sure. So it is what it is. But yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a bummer. But like you said, I think Thunder Rosa winning was also not in question, and I'm glad that she got the win, and the match was decent, but not a classic.
I'm also super bummed out at the Jonathan Gresham versus Dalton Castle match. I'm a big John Gresham guy. I'm, give or take on Dalton Castle. These guys did not work well together. John Gresham is probably like the smoothest wrestler like on the planet right now, and it wasn't there for me at all. That spot in the corner where they kept both missing the back elbows, I was just like, that's some comedic BS. Like, Jonathan Gresham is the wrestler's wrestler. He's the octopus. He will shoot, grab you, and snap you. He will stretch you, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't need to be doing that. So I wasn't in on this match. And on top of that, Dalton Castle hurt him. I don't know if you've heard, Gresham is injured. He was out of his Progress title this weekend. I don't know how bad it was, but I know Gresham landed pretty high on a T-bone suplex, I think it was, right?
Yeah, I heard it was a concussion, or he was being tested for a concussion.
Oh, okay.
And that was why he couldn't make the Progress show that he was supposed to go to. So yeah. I mean, I think, again, that Castle has been, I don't know if he's actually healthy at this point. I remember when he was in Ring of Honor, back when he was the champion, he was banged up. He lost the title. I know his back was like shot, and they had him on like a losing streak thing going. And like, to me, he's never really captured the same level that he was at when he kind of, ascended to being the champion. And then, he got banged up, and I feel like he's been banged up for like 2 or 3 years, and he kind of became a comedy act. They turned him heel. He's not, to me, been the same level of guy where he was really on the rise there in ROH for a while. And now I kind of feel like he's, kind of leveled off or even gone down a notch. So the match was okay. Again, things like that where you just kind of throw a match onto a show because it's, a battle of the belts and you need to have a bunch of championship matches, and they just kind of put it out there and, okay, Dalton Castle, you get a shot at the Ring of Honor world title. So go ahead, and then, so it was okay. But, I would have preferred if they went back to his old music. I know they went back to the original Boys. Maybe they can do something with that going forward with him, but I don't know what their plans are, if he's even signed or what the deal is. So everything's very in flux right now with Ring of Honor. So we'll see where things happen to go.
Yes, such a strange choice of opponent too. I mentioned that in my column at wrestlingheadlines.com. Like out of nowhere, it's like, oh, Dalton Castle. It's like, what? How many guys do you have under contract that are like Ring of Honor alumni? Like, what you could have done? You could have given me Frankie Kazarian, or you could have given me Christopher Daniels. That would have been, a really strong match. But, like I said, that the match wasn't as smooth. And if Jonathan Gresham truly does have a concussion or is in concussion protocol, that can explain why the match went the way it did. I thought it was a clavicle issue, so I'm sorely mistaken. And last but not least, your favorite part of the entire week, baby, Sammy Guevara defeating Scorpio Sky for the AEW TNT title. Need more Sammy on my television, Joe. You're a huge Sammy Guevara guy.
No, I'm not.
Spanish God? No. SG?
Spanish
God.
I guess I will say at least I don't know if that was officially a heel turn or not, but they seem to at least be leaning that way now that he used a low blow to win the title back from Scorpio Sky. I mean, Sammy Guevara is a good wrestler, but I feel like, I don't know. He doesn't seem to be at the level of where he should be, a singles champion. There's only 2 singles champions on the men's side, right? Unless I'm just forgetting something. It's the Ring of Honor, not the Ring of Honor, the AEW World Championship and the TNT title, right? So you only have 2 champions in the whole company. In the beginning, it was Cody, it was Brody Lee. You had guys like that were, kind of like bigger upper mid card guys,
like IC title level guys, right?
Yeah. Then they had it to elevate Darby, which I thought was good because Darby was getting to that level. And then they had Miro, and Miro was at that level too. And I just feel like since Sammy got it, I was surprised when he got it the first time. I was surprised when he got it this last time. I just feel like he's not, I would prefer to see it on somebody else. Not him. And I'm kind of, tired of that, tired of his act. And I think the whole pairing of him with Ty Conti, which I guess they're a real life couple, has really just made things a lot worse for both of them in terms of being on television. So
a lot worse if they're trying to make him a baby face. I feel like as soon as they came out together, it was like, the crowd doesn't like this guy because he's kind of like an arrogant douche like the whole time, right? And then when you pair him with Tay Conti, it's like, there's the incredibly attractive women that most AEW fans are never going to get, paired with the guy who's in great shape and is arrogant and talks about how good he is. It's like, why would I like them? So what they've done is they've managed to put Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti in the Cody and Brandy role because Dan Lambert. And by the way, the man that everybody should be thanking here is Dan Lambert. Dan Lambert single-handedly got Brandy Rhodes over more than she ever was. And now he's elevating Sammy and Tay Conti. The guy is an international superstar. And frankly, I think they should have a Dan Lambert tournament every single year. The Dan Lambert Distinguished Gentleman Invitational. There we go. Right there. Because
DLDGI, sure.
Yeah. But Cody, I don't think was ever going to go heel, right? It seemed like that was never going to happen. And every week his reaction was getting worse and worse because he was kind of very pompous and he got the neck tattoo. Once you tattoo your neck, Joe, everybody knows that's the international symbol of I'm a douche, especially if you have like one other tattoo on your body. Anybody who knows anything about tattooing knows you don't go to the neck until you're at least like 60% covered, 70% covered. You don't put a sticker right on your neck. But to your point, Sammy Guevara winning, I don't love it, but they turned him heel. They're not. So if they're going to shove Sammy and Tay Conti down our throats, they're already getting booed. That's what I appreciate about Tony Khan and AEW. It's like, right, this kind of isn't working. This is working on the other side. All right. Well, I doubt Sammy G is selling that much face merchandise. Why might as well turn him heel. So that's what they did. So
yeah. So for you, those 3 shows last week, what's the best match you saw and the worst match you saw?
I'm not going to count the squash matches. I'm going to count the matches that matter.
Whatever.
Best match that I saw last week. Oh man. I'm going to tell you what the worst match is. The worst match to me was Nyla Rose and Thunder Rosa. That was the one where I was least interested in. I actually know that was one I was most disappointed in. What is your worst match of the week?
I think the Marina Shafir match was the worst one I saw. No offense to Sky Blue. I don't think anything was her fault, but the Marina Shafir thing, they're building her up to face a heel, Jade Cargill, and Shafir to me came off as very unlikable in that match as well. Didn't really do anything to get the crowd behind her. With the style that she has, I think you have to do stuff that, at least gets the crowd into it. And I don't think that happened. So that match was a dud for me. And if they were looking to build her up as a babyface against Jade Cargill, I don't think that worked out very well.
Agreed. If they're looking to build her up as a babyface, that is a complete miss on their, on that side. I think my match of the week is going to be Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon. I'm a big tag team guy. I love Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. And I thought that match after like the first 2 or 3 minutes, it wasn't a long match. It was only like, maybe it was 15 minutes or so. But after the first 4 or 5 minutes, that match was all action. And everybody in that match played their role perfectly. So that was my favorite match of the week.
Yeah, that was mine as well. There were a couple of good ones in there. We talked about Punk versus Penta, Suzuki versus Joe, Cole versus Page. But I think I really like the tag match the best. I thought it had the best work. They had me buying into the near falls. I was thinking there would be a title change. So I went with that for my match of the week as well.
As usual, we're pretty, you and I are usually on the same page when it comes to this stuff, especially on our deep love of everything Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti. This week on AEW Dynamite, we've got a special announcement from Tony Khan, number 19 this week, a coffin match between Andrade El Idolo and Darby Allin. A couple more matches for the women's Owen Hart Invitational. And I'm sure there's some other stuff, but that's kind of what's sticking out to me. Oh, and Dustin Rhodes versus CM Punk.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Who saw that coming, right? That's a pretty cool match. But kudos to them. They have me invested for yet another week. I mean, 3 shows is hard to pull off in the span of 5 days, and AEW did it. So looking forward to that. We're going to wrap up this week. We're going to remind you to check us out at All Night Long WP on everywhere you social media. If you feel so inclined and you are a fan of Don Johnson, go to prowrestlingtees.com/all night long WP. We have a couple of shirts on there. The other one's like a cool varsity shirt. And then we have the Miami Vice shirt. Again, proceeds of everything go to support animal rescue. So don't do it for me. Don't do it for Joe. Do it for the animals. Do it for the ones that matter, because humans don't matter anymore. It's all about the animals. WrestlingHeadlines.com. Again, check us out. Read all of our recaps on there. And that's it for a first edition back of the All Night Long Wrestling podcast. We are tapping out.